Hey yo, salute to all my subscribers. Shout out to everybody else passing through. YouTube, what's good? So I came through to talk about New York. Shout out to New York. Salute to New York for being the first state in this nation to introduce free 4-year schools. I know Tennessee and a few of those states in that geographical area has introduced similar plans. They're looking at college students who didn't finish school to return back to school, and they got programs for them. But as far as New York State, the state of New York, they're introducing, I think it's like a 7.2 or point 0.5, correct me if I'm wrong, $1 billion budget for anybody who is a resident of New York, no matter what your age no matter what your age is, to be able to go to a 4-year school. Now, here's the thing. First of all, salute to them. Anybody who knows me, who's been following my platforms, I've been saying this for a while. Education for U.S. citizens, anybody who has papers to be here legally, education should be free. At the very, very least, it should be super affordable. Not only is education the new currency, it's a matter of national security. You ask me, in my opinion, education is a matter of national security. When you have all these countries pushing education, and when you have the U.S. being so behind on the totem pole as far as education goes, the wars that we're going to be fighting going forward, it's not going to be the wars of the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. It's not World War One. It's not World War II. It's not the wars that our great grandparents and grandparents fought in. The wars that we're going to be fighting moving forward is hackers, biological warfare, people hacking banking systems, and the use of drones, and all this technology that's coming out. And with I think what should have happened 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, as soon as it was becoming more and more clear that the age of factory jobs, manufacturing, the Industrial Revolution, that was all going to be the fuck out of here. As soon as we started to realize that, infrastructure should have been put in place. Education should have been made free. There should have been crazy programs for education, because without technologically advanced people who know how to work these programs, these softwares, these hardwares, these different systems, without them being educated to do that, there's not going to be anywhere to go for jobs. So salute to New York for being the first state to really push this agenda. And I'm hoping that if New York's able to make this successful, push it through, iron it out, and have a success rate, I'm pretty sure, at least in the beginning, that the majority of the northern states are going to follow suit. Now, for all the people, let me address this. For all the people who are saying, yeah, but there's a lot of fine print, you got to read, there's a lot of caveats. Look, it's education. These are major investments into the future of U.S. citizens, people who are going to be able to take care of their families, provide for themselves and for their kids. There's going to be caveats, there's going to be fine print. So let's talk about some of them. And I'm pretty sure that there'll be some clarification on things moving forward as this program starts to really roll out. Because when you talk about a program being introduced, as massive as this program is going to be, upwards of $7 billion, that's not small change. So some of the people were saying, oh, it's just community college. No, it's not. It's 4-year schools, completely free 4-year schools. Some of the requirements is that, while you're enrolled, you have to maintain a certain grade point average. I'm not too sure. Y'all could definitely Google and look it up, fact check, do your Googles, check out what, the grade point average is, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But I don't care if it's a 3.2, whatever the required grade point average for you to maintain to get a free ride to school. No scholarship. You don't have to, take out these crazy student loans that you're going to be paying back for the next 10, 20 years. If the only caveat, as far as you personally making the sacrifice while you're in school and not having to worry about working your ass off to pay for tuition, to put yourself through school, you might have a family, you might be going to night school and still trying to hold down a job. If you can be able to come out of that on the other side, graduate, get your degree, find a job in the field that you specialize in, and all you had to really worry about was maintaining a certain grade point average, then you shouldn't have a problem doing that. Everybody wants the world, everybody wants shit, but don't want to make sacrifices that is required for them to attain that. So I don't have no issue with that. One of the other caveats, people were saying, yeah, but then New York is saying that once you graduate, you have to agree to remain a New York resident for up to 4 years. Yeah, it is 2 to 4 years. This is no different than trucking companies who will agree to put you through training if you want to be a truck driver, use their equipment, be taught by their trainers and their instructors, and be able to take your written test, pass it, and then have a vehicle that would be cost an exorbitant amount of money for you to rent or acquire a vehicle to take that road test in yourself to be able to get your commercial driver's license. These big companies agree to do it, at no cost to you, but then they just require that you work for them for a year. You have companies who will hire mid to high level managers, and then the agreement is that you'll stay, with that company for X amount of time. It's standard business practices. There's nothing wrong with it. Why shouldn't New York State, if they're going to say, look, we're going to agree to pay for you to go to school, for you to get your education, that's high level education that you take with you for the rest of your life, it's your degree. You can do whatever you choose to do with it, but we just require that you remain a New York resident for 2 to 4 years after your graduation. What's wrong with that? If they're putting up the money and they're investing in your education, and the only thing they're requiring you to do is to remain a resident of that state for long enough to be a productive member and resident of that state, to be able to put back into that state's economy for a couple years after that, 2 to 4 years, for them to try to recoup some of that money back, whether it's through the state taxes that you'll be paying once you acquire a job, and whatever, you spending money in the community that you live in within that state, more than reasonable. I got no issue with that. All I know is, for a long time now, people who are concerned about education, people who know what the transitions are going to be moving forward and what the climate of our country looks like, if we don't step up our education, is very bleak. It's a very bleak future. So I think for these small number of caveats and these small number of requirements that people are going to have to adhere to, in order to be able to get free education, it's a small price to pay. So salute to New York for stepping up and doing this. Hopefully more states around the country will follow suit. Let me know what y'all think, yo. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and love.